There's a topic that we don't talk about enough, and that's gaming and safety. And there has been some recent light that's been shed on the world of gaming in general. Um, this isn't stuff that's like brand new, nobody's heard of it before, but it's stuff that's not talked about. And I feel like we need to talk about it. So let's get into it. Hi, my name is Pastor Zachary Wilkie. I am the pastor of Project Wilderness, which is a video game ministry. Our mission is to evangelize with esports, and we plan to do that by hosting tournaments in churches and building the bridge between the gamer and the church. I have the privilege to go around the country and host tournaments for local churches, big districts of the Assemblies of God, and other amazing opportunities that are given to me. And it's wonderful to be in, but there is a problem we need to address. There's a bill that's being passed through Congress right now, and it's currently in our active session, and it's called the Safer Gaming Act. And I want to talk about it just a little bit, but before we get into it, I want to give you guys just a background of why this act is necessary for us to pay attention to, because I guarantee it affects every single one of you, from the grandparent to the parent to the child to whoever, whether you know a gamer or you are a gamer. If you use Discord, if you play games like Roblox or VR chat, all of this stuff is prevalent to you. Now, here's some statistics. In the US, 93% of teenagers are gamers, and they spend an average of about 12 hours a week. They spend an average of about 12 hours a week gaming. According to a 2023 report published by the company Roblox, 42% of its 6.85 million daily active users were under the age of 12, and 21% were under the age of 9. In fact, Roblox has gone as far as to say it is the safe gaming platform for kids. Their user count, by the way, has gone up to about 80 million as of 2026. According to the 6th Annual Youth Perspectives on Online Safety Report, 33% of boys aged 9 through 12 said they experienced an online sexual interaction in 2024. And this is the highest rate reported since data collection began sometime around COVID, 2020, 2021. Using digital tools is more common than seeking human support. And minors were more than twice as likely to use platform safety tools like ChatGPT, Googling, how do we get past this situation, than to talk to a caregiver or a friend offline. In fact, those who wanted to use those platform safety tools was about 84%. I want to make a statement that everyone should know. Um, in the online gaming space, developers cannot necessarily make any game safe. If the game connects to the internet and you play with other people, your game is not safe. This goes for any platform, whether it's PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Steam, VR, using things such as MetaQuest or an Oculus. And one of the sets of things that we need to look out for are games like Roblox and VR chat. Anything that allows verbal or custom chat communication. This even goes into Rocket League. It can go into Valorant. It can go into Overwatch 2. It can go into Marvel Rivals. Most of the popular games out there where they have a text chat box you can send messages on. Now, how is it that teenagers are gaming and people are getting in contact with them? You would think that there's something that's safe for them. Well, people get in contact with children on video games online through personal lobby chats, through sending them friend requests, so playing with them in the game, getting their user info and sending a friend request. It opens up chats in that way, and through open or public Discord servers. The main reason that this needs to be addressed is because it is not just friendly people that go on and play games. There are pedophiles, there are cults. In fact, there's a cult called the 764 cult. It's a satanic group that has chosen to have kids commit self harm, abuse themselves. They encourage suicide, they encourage um, sexual acts and stimulations. It's a bunch of people that get joy and pleasure from hurting children and other people. In fact, there's handbooks on how to groom children and sexually exploit them, make them cause self harm or do otherwise. Those books are about 700 pages big, give or take. Um, and one of the crazy things is that companies like Roblox allows creators to open their own merch shops to both the creator and Roblox, and they receive profits from any sale that's made. So Roblox currently has shirts for sale, skins for sale that are Charlie Kirk wearing the shirt that he was shot in. There's also some that have the 764 cult markings on there. There's satanic markings. There's skins that don't get caught by most or if any safe detection, system. And why do we need to address this? Because there are people out there who are trying to get your kids. There's a story of a 10-year-old girl who was solicited on Roblox by a adult, a pedophile, and he kidnapped her, and she took her to a hotel, and she was raped by 5 men. And there's another story that an 11-year-old girl was sexually assaulted multiple times from the same predator, and she ended up becoming pregnant. And her grandmother drove her across the country to New Mexico just to get an abortion because she was sexually abused and harassed. Now, those two stories are just drops in the bucket of what's happening to our kids online. There are many kids that are being sexually solicited, sexually exploited. They are being pretty much just taken advantage of by having people request nude pictures of them, creating fake online relationships with them, convincing them that they care about them, and then they will exploit those people for anything that they want, such as child porn, self-harm images or videos. In fact, there was a instance where there was an adult male who was solicited by people in the 764 cult, and he was convinced by them to be accepted, and then the worth of his life was as much as they determined, and so they determined that he should set himself on fire and die in front of them. And there's a Discord call that this happened on where the man was he set himself on fire, and as he died, the people that were in the call laughed at him. There's a lot of crazy things that happen and evil things that are happening in the gaming world. Now, Congress was introduced this legislation called the Safer Gaming Act, and it's HR 6265. It's one out of 18 pieces of legislation going through right now in our our congressional system. And it was made to require online video game providers to provide certain safeguards for minors and for other purposes. In general, and this is in quotes, in general, an online video game provider shall provide safeguards to the parent of a covered user of an interactive online video game of such provider that allow the parent to limit communication between such covered user and any other user, including any adult user of such online video game, end quote. And this is presented as being something that will improve the safety of games and survivors. And in that general context that we just read, that's what it sounds like it does. The problem is that they put a preemptive clause that grants immunity to tech platforms against the survivors of abuse. So if your child is sexually exploited, or if you are sexually exploited on any of these games that are following under it, which would be any game that's online that has any multiplayer interaction where there's communication involved, you could not sue if you became a victim of any exploitation, sexual abuse, or anything like this. And the preemption clause states, in quotes, it's clause E in there, preemption: no state or political subdivision of a state may prescribe, maintain, or enforce any law, rule, regulation, requirement, standard, or other provision having the force and effect of law, if such law, rule, regulation, requirement, and standard, or other provision relates to the provisions of this act. End quote. The preemption clause allows for these companies to only follow federal regulations, and if those standards are met, then they do not have to be subject to state legislature or lawsuits, meaning these companies cannot be sued if the safeguards that they put in place of an account, such as having parental controls automatically enabled on a child's account, are in. Parental controls can be disabled by a 10-year-old. So how are they going to enforce and create a good standard for parental controls to be put on any account? they want to create age verification, and that sounds decent. It sounds like a good idea. That way, adults can't play with minors and so on and so forth. The problem is there's no verification to actually have your age, and there's no verification once the account is made to continue to verify that this is who you are. See, one of the problems with this is that the companies only need to have this turned on at the very beginning of an account. It does not restrict all the games that are produced and available on the game. Think about Roblox as a library, and every game that it has is a book. There are simulations of apps like Tinder on Roblox, which is a dating application, by the way, Tinder, and Omegle, which was a free web chat service that did not require registration. So there's no accountability to anyone. It wasn't linked to anything. In fact, Omegle was shut down for child sexual abuse after more than 50 cases against pedophiles were filed from 2021 to 2023. Roblox has games and they involve recreations of tragedies and mass shooting events such as the Sandy Hook Elementary School, Uvalde, Columbine, and even church shootings. Now, while these games are not the primary games that can be chosen on Roblox, they are options that are not restricted or have very little restrictions based on age. Roblox has tried to create an age verification process for their accounts through a vendor called Persona. And in fact, this company is being used for platforms such as LinkedIn, Square, and even Playboy. And they were slated to run with Discord, but Discord backed out of that deal 3 days ago as of this recording. The issue is that Persona, just as recently as February of 2026, has had data leaks in which they promised to delete user data and it was found otherwise. They verify users through AI software that estimates the age of the individual or verifies it through some form of ID that is scanned and sent in. In creating this age verification system, Roblox has now created a way for people to be locked into certain age categories. But predators are finding accounts for sale on external platforms. They were on eBay at one point, that recently was taken down, but there's other websites which these predators can find these accounts. And so when a predator finds these accounts, they then have access to the specific age group of children that they wish to target. Meaning, if a predator, or as the world would like to call it, a minor attracted person, wants to find a 13-year-old to prey on, they just need to buy a 13-year-old account and they can go in and they will chat only with 13-year-olds. They now have the pick of the litter. They don't even need to sort. Roblox actually created the ability for them to find and pick how they want it. It just takes maybe, a couple of dollars and just getting a different email and login, and there you go. Now your child's at risk for someone being targeted, or someone targeting them. How should we respond? Let's be honest, child predators are out there regardless of what we do. There will never be a space that is safe for children online. No one should and no one can technically advertise a space as safe. There are precautions, there is no clear safety. The only way you can be considered safe when playing video games is if you're offline and you're not playing with anyone that you have no chance of multiplayer connection. No one can get in, no, you can't message anyone, and there's tons of things along those lines. Predators go where their prey are. And that's why you can see terrible things happening in schools, on sports teams, daycares, and churches. And personally, we're thankful that we have a system that helps us get a background check that is not just active on start, but it is active throughout the entirety of it through the Department of Justice. So we're in doing what we do called live scan. We're getting the most thorough background check that we can, and it actually protects us because there's always 2 adults that have to be in the room that are live scanned when we work with minors. If these institutions are taken down, if Roblox is taken down, if Discord's taken down, VR chat is taken down, here's the thing. We're not going to eliminate the evil that's happening in the world. It will only be a tool that is lost. Nothing is new under the sun. Pedophiles and those who wish to target minors will always create more ways to commit their evil. So, what hope is there? Let's start with this. We do not struggle against flesh and blood. Ephesians 6:10-12 says, "Finally, be strong in the Lord and the strength of his might. Put on the full armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." We must pray over our kids' safety, and we must ask the Holy Spirit for discernment. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. We must protect our children. Most kids do not need access to the internet. They don't need to play games online. If they play games online through any console, do not let them communicate with anyone that you or they do not know in real life, and verify that that person is who they say they are. If you need to have a sheet that says this is this person's username and it lines up with this real person, and you have contact information for them and you can get their names, parents, you need to do that. You need to take the extra effort of the next 2 or 3 hours that you can and get this list of names of the kids, people that your kids are playing with. Because if you don't know them, you cannot guarantee that they are out for your safety. Listen, if you give your kids access to the world, you're giving the world access to them. So be involved and open. Kids may be afraid to mention abuse for fear of punishment or shame. We must love our kids well. I told you the statistic at the beginning. 36% are people who are talking to their friends or any adults about their abuse. Platforms like Snapchat, Discord, Instagram, any social media, any video game can lead to an instance like this. This doesn't mean that you need to go out and burn all of it. Maybe your kid doesn't need to be on social media. I think that's a great idea. I think it's fantastic. What is it doing for them? What life is it giving them that the Word of God could not provide, or that the Christian community could not provide, or that your church could not provide? There are more things in life than looking at your screen. Be involved in your child's gaming. Know what games they are playing and establish authority in that part of their life. Let me say this again. You must establish authority in the life of your child, especially when it comes to gaming. You either play with them or you watch them play. Be sure that you are present when they're playing, or put their gaming systems in a public place. I wasn't allowed to communicate with anyone on Xbox until I was about 16 years old through a voice chat. I had to wait and mature and grow up. And then it was only people I knew. It wasn't anyone that was not part of our family. Our job was to mute anyone who we came into a lobby with. We would take the time. Every time we saw a mic button that wasn't muted, we would go and find it and mute it. It was a discipline for us. It protected me. It protected my brother. Protected my family from this. It's something that will protect yours as well. Don't let them, you don't need to have them play with the headset on. If you don't like the sound of the game because it's vulgar, maybe you shouldn't approve of the game that they're playing, or make them play with the sound off. There's tons of options that can be found here if we just take the due diligence of taking the extra step. Listen, you can put their gaming systems in a public place. Ultimately, you are the one that God gave your child to. Be the parent. Love them and be present and interested in what they do. Lastly, concerning the bill that was mentioned earlier, the Safer Gaming Act, I implore you, contact your representative, contact your president, contact your governor, contact anyone who is above you and ask them about this bill. Then you need to start contacting your school districts, your principals, your teachers, your pastors, the Sunday school teachers. Make the case and story known to them about what is happening right now. 93% of teenagers are affected by this. Okay, so only 7% of teenagers are exempt, which means those 7% are friends with those who are gaming. Okay, so everyone is affected by this. Make your case and story known to them. Share this story. Tell them about what is happening. Congress wants to try to do the right thing, but they're preventing any retribution for any survivors of sexual assault through video games, any form of abuse or self-harm from predators. You have the chance to make a difference. Ask these people what's being done in their context. As for me, I'll continue getting information out. We'll come up with next step guides and things like that. That way you guys have a way to move forward in your child's gaming world. Our kids are already there. Let's meet them where they are. And let's not only meet them, but let's defend them from those seeking to hurt them. Thank you.